everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Monster Report. Nick Adam Poling here with a very special guest for this discussion episode of the Monster Report. I have with me Chris Cuypers, or Mr. Gojifan1993. Welcome, Chris.
Hey, G-fans, Gojifan1993 here.
It's good to have you via Skype. He's connected with us all the way from Colorado, right?
Oh, yeah.
Yep. It's good to have you.
Colorful state.
The colorful state?
Yes.
Yes, very nice, yeah. And, beaming your signal over here to Indiana, we don't have a picture, but we've got your voice, and you'll be able to tell us kind of some of your thoughts a little on Godzilla vs. Gigan for this discussion. But before we get into that, can you tell some of the viewers maybe what's going on with you recently with the channel or anything monster related?
Yeah, well, I just got back onto YouTube after my little small hiatus. I think it was a really needed break that I had because I was getting burnt out, I feel, at the end of 2015. So I took that break and kind of got myself reorganized, and I got to Daniel Fay, who made my logo with that character. Basically, some people were confused. They were wondering what, like, is that Space Godzilla with like a really cool hairdo or something? But basically, what that stemmed from was an old piece of fan art I got a long time ago, where someone turned me into Space Godzilla because he's my favorite Godzilla character. Mm-hmm. And I looked at that logo and I was like, that's actually a really cool character. So I went to Daniel Fay, who she also worked on Return of Space Godzilla with us. She was the voice of the Vortac Queen and Lieutenant Amy, and she's also just a super talented artist. So I went to her and asked her if she wanted to remake this piece of fan art, this character, and she gave me this, and it was just, I was like blown away with it. So that had to be my new logo. And I just, gotten everything back, and I wanted to work harder on videos. And actually, as I speak, there's a video uploading right now, and you'll see what that is later if you're watching this. You've probably already seen it if you've seen this video later. But it feels really great to be back. The amount of love that I've been receiving with messages and stuff, and people excited that I'm back, it's humbling. It's very it's like I never left, and a month being off of the internet is kind of like, 50 years in real time, Mm-hmm. So it's crazy that people have not forgotten about my channel or anything like that. So it's really cool, and I'm just excited to be back, and I'm very excited to be doing another collab video with you, so this is awesome.
Yep, it's very good to have you, and I'd encourage everyone to check out the channel, and of course with a fresh look, the new logo, starting 2016 off with that's a good way to kind of get back into the mix of things. But taking a little break is definitely a good thing for us YouTubers and video producers, because sometimes, we can get easily burned out.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. But, getting into our kaiju discussions that we have here, I know you have your discussions, and we haven't planned anything out. We've just kind of talked and said, hey, let's, next in line for my discussion videos were after Godzilla vs. the Smog Monster, we've got a back to form monster flick, which is Godzilla vs. Gigan. So kind of tell me, Chris, about your background with it, first time you saw it, what were your first reactions to it? Just tell me a little about your first impressions.
Okay, so when I first saw Godzilla vs. Gigan, I was super young. This was when I was watching most of the Showa films. My parents got me like Godzilla vs. Megalon and Gigan because those were easily available on VHS. I did watch it a lot when I was a kid, mainly because of the last battle, because it was a lengthy final battle, and to see Gigan and King Ghidorah there and Godzilla and Anguirus, it was such a spectacle to see when you're a kid, and when you love these characters so much. So I watched it a lot, but the thing that I never really cared for were the human scenes, because I always was super bored when I was a kid, at least watching it. Now when I recently watched it for when I did my Godzilla-thons and stuff like that, I gained a little bit more of appreciation for the story itself, but it still was that cheesy show of goodness, I guess, that you can expect, especially from the 70s. So it's definitely not my favorite Godzilla film, but it has things in it that I do love, especially the music. I would say one thing that stands out is the music, but I know that it's not original music to this one. I know Kirifukube used tracks from, I believe it's Baron, for like some of the tracks. I'm not completely sure on that, but the music that they put for the soundtrack is great. That's probably my most favorite thing about this movie, and also just the final battle. That's pretty much just the icing on the cake with this one. So
yeah, I agree with the music idea, and yeah, you're right. The music, this film features a lot of stock footage and stock music because there's a lot of Ifukube's themes from other Godzilla films and non-Godzilla related films, like Battle in Outer Space.
That's right.
Yeah, there was some of that, and Atragon was in there, and so yeah, it's just you're looking at that 1970s time where the budgets were cut, and they had to do what they could, and in a lot of ways, I think knowing that after the fact builds the appreciation back, like you got for it later on, and your reaction was probably similar to mine. It's like, what's going on here? And you're probably like me, when you watch this, you probably didn't watch this in the order, the Showa, beginning to end order, did you?
No, I did not, no.
Yeah, it was definitely out of order, which is fine to watch these films that way. But yeah, what did you think about some of the, let's kind of talk about some of the negative first, and we'll get to the positive elements later. Something that might be, let's just say if needs improvement, because I like to say it that way rather than say something bad, if we could improve on something, or maybe point out some of the weirdness in the film.
Yeah, weirdness. I would say the first thing that comes to mind when it comes to weirdness is the villains of this film, the bad guys, the cockroaches. I don't know where they were going with that. It was funny enough, like they go from this to then the apes in Mechagodzilla, but it's like, I don't know, I kind of like the apes more than just the cockroaches, but yeah, that was probably the weirdest thing about this movie. And probably the bad stuff, at least in my opinion, I would have to say the characters. The main characters just aren't really that. They don't really do it for me. I never really cared about them throughout the I guess struggles that they had in the movie. One part I guess that was cool was when they were trying to escape the Godzilla Tower through the zip line and whatnot. Like that was a fun little moment. But overall, it wasn't really a character-driven movie for sure. The only character that I really liked was, I don't remember his name, because you're looking at the IMDb, so maybe you can see the character. It's the guy with the bandana, and he had like he was like eating corn all the time or something.
Yeah, Shosaku with the corn cob.
Yeah, that guy was my favorite character just because he was comedy relief done right. He was just a funny character.
Mm-hmm. He was like an out of place hippie.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, and the cockroaches you talked about. The interesting thing about these aliens is they're inhabiting human bodies, but yet they cast a shadow of a cockroach.
Yeah, it's like I said, that's what the weird part. It's just so bizarre. But like I said, it's the 70s, so Toho, who knows what they were doing, taking drugs and all that. So
yeah, who knows? And in so many ways, they try to come up with new, inventive ways to get monsters to pit up against each other in a battle. And sometimes it's like we're out of ideas, or maybe we need to try this, see if it works, see if it doesn't. Yeah, and even to the fact of Godzilla and Anguirus talking to each other.
Oh my god, that's right. I forgot about that. Weren't there differences also in the Japanese and American versions? Like, wasn't it in the Japanese version it was like comic book style bubbles, and then in the American version they were actually like, oh, Anguirus, we gotta check this and something. I don't. Was that the differences? Yeah,
the Japanese version had those speech bubbles with Japanese characters in them, and that's and then the American version, which is the one we saw as kids and grew up with, and they spoke with those voices to each other, which you probably were like me. That doesn't sound like, if I were to put a voice in Godzilla's mouth, that doesn't sound like the voice I would have come up with.
Something funny going on. You better check. Oh, yeah.
I know, right? Especially Anguirus too. Like, all right, I'll go check.
Yeah, he was managing the Krusty Krab. You know, he was.
Yes.
Yeah, he was definitely a little grizzled. But even Godzilla's voice, yeah, it's like when they were at sea, and he's like, "There's a lot of trouble. Go ahead."
Yeah.
He's got a cold.
Yeah, it was so weird.
Yeah, and but yeah, that was one of those things that just really never got explained. It's just that this is the conversation they have with each other, and I guess in maybe some ways I could defend the speech bubbles before I could defend actually speaking. Yeah, they had that in Godzilla versus Ghidorah the Three-Headed Monster, where the twin fairies were speaking for the monsters. You know, I can kind of see that happening.
Oh yeah. That makes more sense at least. In a Godzilla reality way.
In that, yeah, the plausible set your mind aside kind of for a while, but it's definitely. And you know, the last film was Godzilla versus Hydra, or the Smog Monster, and so Hedorah. That's one where, you know, the unique one where you tell somebody who's maybe a mild fan, it's the one where he whatever. This is the one where he talks. That was the one where he flies.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Has its little shining moment.
Yeah, those maybe money shots. Sometimes it's a Megalon with the the complete horizontal double foot kick.
Yeah.
Yeah. The drop kick, the body slam, and Megagyrus. It's the one where he whatevers. And so
exactly.
Yeah. Now in this one, as far as the character Gigan, I got my kind of opinions about it. What did you think of him?
Oh, I love it. I love Gigan. Everybody knows. I always say Gigan. I always love him. Final Wars Gigan is my favorite look of him, just because he looks a little bit more meaner, I guess. But yes, there he is. Yes. Oh God, I just love it. Love it.
Yep.
But you do have to give respect to the Showa guy. To the Showa Gigan. He was pretty awesome looking, and it was just such a. I think the reason why I love this character so much, I think if it wasn't for Space Godzilla, I think Gigan would be my favorite Godzilla character, because he's just so unique. You've never seen anything like this character before. Like, King Ghidorah was really cool with the three heads, but still it's a dragon. You can kind of, you've seen dragons before, all kinds of different dragons, but this guy's like just a mechanical chicken robot thing with a buzzsaw on its belly and a cyborg eye, excuse me, and the claws, and it's just like, what is this thing? You can't really exactly define what this kind of monster is. It's just a mishmash of all these things, and it's just so cool. And it's a great. I think this movie, the only reason it was probably really successful was because of that new character.
Yeah. And in so many ways, when you look at Gigan, you say that's definitely original. And they liked him so much they brought him back in Megalon, and then he took a long rest until Final Wars, of course, till they brought him back. But I think that was always a character they've always wanted to bring back, and the fans have always wanted to see again.
Yes, definitely. He desperately needed to be in the Heisei series. I really wish he was.
Yeah, we didn't get that in the Heisei series, all right, but we just had to keep waiting until 2004, I guess. But and we got I think a really cool kind of version of him in Final Wars. Say what you will about that. Say what you will about that film, but
Oh no, that, like I said, that Gigan's my favorite one.
Mm-hmm.
But the show, you got to give your respect to him. He's still. I always looked at it this way. The Showa Gigan, he was a little bit more meat than style. He was definitely ferocious. He was brutal. But then the Final Wars Gigan, he was more style than meat. He was really cool looking, but he got his butt kicked very easily. So it's kind of a trade-off between which version you want. So it's basically style over substance, whichever one you like more. So
yeah, there was a little bit more practicality to him. And I will say this also about when he was introduced up to this point in the Godzilla series. Godzilla and some of his his friends have gone up against King Ghidorah, which is a formidable foe, but the suit, unfortunately, is very, bulky, and the heads get tangled up in the wire work, so he doesn't...
Oh.
Yeah, he's not very agile.
Yeah.
Yeah, Smog Monster kind of limped around, and then we get Gigan, who can really move, and who can, really be destructive, and, he does everything from the ability to fly to those claw, arms to the buzzsaw belly, and, he has the little blaster on his forehead, but they never, of course, use that in show us.
That's right.
Yeah.
Only in the video games does he shoot the red laser from his eye.
Yeah, that's right. It was kind of wasted. I do remember at one point, I'm not sure, I think it was in this film, when he gets, it kind of sparks at one point.
Yeah, I think it was when, I think Godzilla was throwing rocks at him or something, and a boulder just smashed him in the head, and he was like, whoa, and then like a little spark or whatever. I think that was in this one. I'm pretty sure it was.
Yeah, or Megalon, one of those two. But
even if it wasn't Megalon, it was probably stock footage of this one. So
that's right. Now let's talk about the stock footage. What all kinds of stock footage did we have to work with in this? What films did we see all that in? I
think with this it was Ghidorah the Three-Headed Monster, when Ghidorah was throwing Godzilla onto the bridge. I think. Yeah. Oh, and then also in Destroy All Monsters, when King Ghidorah was, I guess, when Anguirus grabbed one of his necks and he was flying through the air, and then he smashed him down. I think that was one of the stock, but I think I might be forgetting others if I.
No, I think you've got most of them right there. King Ghidorah the Three-Headed Monster, Destroy All Monsters, and I think there was War. Actually, this is non-Godzilla, War of the Gargantuas. With those maser tanks, actually. Cause,
oh my God, that's right.
Yeah.
Oh, that makes so much sense now.
Yeah.
Huh.
Because if you see some of the military blasting away at Anguirus, Angulus, however you say it, they're blasting away with him at those maser tanks, and they start shooting at Gigan, and he, does that crawl behind the trees.
Yeah. And that's like Gyra. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's so cool, because I just saw last year the War of the Gargantuans for my Halloween marathon, and that makes sense. Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, stock footage from anywhere they could have gotten it, and it is what they had to work with, I guess. But yes, and you see, I even noticed this as a kid. This was actually one of my first, not the first, one of the first Godzilla films I saw as a kid, because of the video store. There was Godzilla 85 over there. And this one and Mechagodzilla were next to each other, so I'd rent the heck out of those, bring them home. I rented them so much I pretty much bought them. But I remember seeing the Godzilla suit changing throughout the film, and I was like, what's going on? Later I found out it's because, those are scenes from other films that they had to reuse because of budget reasons. So, yeah. How about the aliens themselves, they build that Godzilla tower, and the whole children's land ruse that they came up with. What'd you think of that?
I thought that was creative. I'll give the movie that. That was a pretty creative thing. Aliens come down, they're like, oh yeah, well, people know about Godzilla, so let's make this tower, and we'll make just a big amusement park out of it, and people will come in, and what was their plan overall? To brainwash people, or?
If they had a plan, you're right. It comes down to asking that question. What really was their plan? As I understand it, their plan was to, of course, replace all the humans and use our bodies as receptacles to take over the world. But they were going to do this by bringing in their monsters, controlling their monsters by whatever means that they could control them, and kill our monsters. They were going to replace the monsters of Earth with all the Children Land toys and models, miniatures of them, and then destroy the originals. Destroy Monster Island. So there's no defense against their monsters. They'll be able to take over the world, just easily.
I see.
Yeah, so it's the aliens, goal of take over the world.
Of course.
Yes.
Sorry, I had to do that.
Yes, that's their goal, I guess. But we have the aliens, the Keloks and the Exians already. The Planet X aliens. At least the Planet X aliens, they wanted water. The destroy all monsters. The Keloks, they kind of had a plan. It was just the basic take over the world, and then I think that's about it for aliens, except for in Final Wars, which was again take over the world.
Was Mechagodzilla also? Those were aliens, right?
That's right. They were aliens too. Yes. Yeah. The apes.
Oh.
Yes.
Yeah.
From the third planet of the black hole, I guess. Yeah. Yeah. Now, so they have this ruse, and you've got your main character, Gingo, and he's the comic book artist. I actually thought that was kind of cool in his character, that he's an artist, and he's a struggling artist, trying to get make a living, selling his ideas to whoever would publish them. Yeah.
You can say #relate.
Yeah. And
Struggling artist.
that's right. Yes, absolutely relate. Yes. And anyway, he didn't have YouTube or DeviantArt or anything we've got now.
Yeah.
He would be right on with that.
He would.
Yeah, he's coming up with these terrible ideas of the homework monster, the mother monster, and he's just trying to sell them. One character that's really interesting is his girlfriend, who never really gets named, but her name on IMDb is Tomoko, the one with the black belt.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and who's trying to help him get some work. She was cool. She's a strong female character in the Godzilla series.
Yeah, she was actually. She was. I would say not a lot of people talk about her for sure.
Yeah, not enough. But she kicks butt. She defends them against the aliens. She helps with the rescue operation. She's very proactive and all that, and doesn't let anything except for she is afraid of cockroaches though.
Really? Was she?
Yeah, she screamed.
I don't remember that.
She screamed, in the Godzilla Tower when the shadows were on the wall there. She's like, and then look, it's a cockroach. And then at the end of the film, when one's crawling across the floor or the ground, she's screaming again at that one.
Oh, okay. I think I remember that. I totally forgot about that little thing there.
Yeah. She could fight, an army of aliens, but the fact that they're cockroaches really.
Yeah, it's game over. Once I say it's game over.
That's it. Yeah, one boot, could solve the whole invasion. Yeah, or a good can of Raid.
There you go. There you go.
Yeah, and then so we also have that plot device that's going on with Machiko, who's she's trying to steal the tape from the corporate aliens. In this case, her brother's been imprisoned. She meets up with Gingo. He decides to help her and figure out what's going on. The one thing I also thought about this whole, partnership is it's kind of neat, but there was that montage where they say, "Let's all go to City Hall," and that montage where they're just trying to figure out who these people are of Children's Land.
That's right.
And where they come from, and it really kind of goes nowhere in a lot of ways, because what they find out doesn't really become useful to them at all.
That's true.
Yeah, when they even find out that the chairman and the head of Children's Land, Kubota, when they realize that they used to be a teacher-student, have a relationship, and they both died in some accident, and you find out, I guess, that they were replaced by aliens, these cockroach aliens. That really didn't help, our trio.
No, not really.
They knew something, but other than that, they still had a plan to get Takashi Shima out of the Godzilla Tower. But other than that, yeah, that's all they really had a plan to do.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so that whole thing. But yeah, there's a lot of filler in a lot of places. You probably think fast forward, getting me to the monster action, right?
Exactly. Yeah, that's when I was a kid. Those were the parts that just killed me. I was just like, okay, where's the monsters? This is boring.
Yeah. Yeah. Let's go to City Hall, the newspaper, and I'm just like, oh goodness, drive the story forward.
How much farther is it now?
About 40 miles. Be there in an hour.
As far as as the film goes along, we've got the ending where Godzilla basically is, well, actually, let's say this, he gets the advantage because the human characters helped him out. And I always thought it was cool that they used the Gingos, his comic book artistry actually came in handy when they tried to fool the aliens into thinking, what happened?
I thought it was so funny the fact that he made that whole big poster with the cartoon-looking versions of the main characters, and the bad guys were like, "Oh, it's them! Shoot!" and then just a big explosion. That was pretty hilarious, actually.
Yeah, little Bugs Bunny kind of trick there that they pulled on him. I could see that. I could see that working in the Looney Tunes, but these aliens, they're not too quick.
No.
They were quick for the trigger, but I guess they don't have any sense of color or depth.
Yeah, I was just about to say maybe they're blind or colorblind because obviously that was black and white with pictures. So I don't know how I don't know.
Yeah.
That's how they lost. So.
Yeah. He didn't have enough time to color it or, make it look too realistic, but yet somehow it all worked. So the Godzilla Tower is broken down. The control of the monsters was lost, so they're kind of disoriented, and that helps Godzilla and Angulus get their advantage back, which then tides get turned. Any of the monster action scenes that kind of particularly stick out in your mind?
Let's see. Probably the two that stick out in my mind would be when they first come ashore, when Godzilla and Anguirus are staring down at Gigan and King Ghidorah in the fire, like it's all fiery, the whole city's on fire, or where are they? The locations vary though, it's weird, but
yeah,
like they start on the shore and all of a sudden they end up in the kids' land area, so it's kind of weird, but that part was pretty cool with just the fiery background. That kind of set the tone for the battle, and then towards the end when Godzilla gets the upper hand, Gigan and him are kind of like, I always love this thing in Godzilla movies, how they do this. I think it was mostly done in the Showa films. I don't really think the other films did it, or the other series, but like where Godzilla and his enemy are like, there's a building between them, and they basically just get at the building to get towards each other. Like it's like a standoff, and they're staring each other down. Like it's like like those movies where a hero and villain just kind of walk in a circle and stare at each other. So that's what they're kind of doing in the building in the middle there, and they're both just destroying the buildings so they can get to each other. Like that was a really cool part too. Those are like, I would say, the two parts that stand out in my mind in the battle.
Yeah, and I especially like what you said about the fiery city. There's a couple of really awesome shots of Gigan when they're smashing up the city. I'm not sure what he's doing. There's the shot prior was his buzzsaw, and then it's just him kind of crowing with the fiery background, and I'm not sure if he's just kind of, claiming his territory or what have you, but it's so well lit and well shot. And then he kind of backs off. I like the action of the fighting and all that. It's kind of slow during times, but it kind of picks up as it goes. There's one thing that always has bothered me is, when Godzilla first comes ashore, he sees King Ghidorah there. It's like, oh, my old enemy. Goes right for him, tackles him. You see Godzilla roll away, stand up, but then the very next shot is King Ghidorah standing there looking perfectly fine.
Yeah, there's that kind of inconsistency with the editing right there.
Yeah, a little bit. And I kind of understand because, the suit is very cumbersome, and it's to get him to stand up from laying down, I guess, could be, maybe they tried it and it failed, or they didn't have something in the stock footage, who knows.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's
I don't think we've ever really seen King Ghidorah get up.
Yeah, not much, if any.
If you think about it.
Yeah, if anything, maybe he was, I think in Destroy All Monsters, laying flat, but went straight up, but not like stood up, from a leg.
Trying to get back up to be tackled like that, yeah.
Yeah, it's such a cumbersome suit. They hated using it, I know that, and the behind the scenes of all the, anytime they had King Ghidorah, it's like, oh, again?
Oh God, here we go. All right, let's do this shot 5,000 times. Okay.
Mm-hmm. And, try not to get those heads all tangled up. But now the suit actors. The Godzilla suit, Haru Nakajima.
Of course.
Yep. And his last film, too. Yeah.
That's right. That is right. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, before he retired. And this is the first appearance. Sorry, not the first. I'm wrong about that. The second appearance of Kenpachiro Satsuma, who played the Smog Monster. He played Gigan in both of these films. But you know what he ended up doing, right?
The Godzilla Heisei, right?
The Heisei Godzilla, your favorite series. Right?
Oh yeah.
Yep. And Satsuma, he's getting his chops, his monster chops. I think with the Smog Monster, I've always said, gosh, he doesn't move a lot, but he couldn't. It's a very cumbersome looking, and slow moving. I don't even think the man could probably see.
Oh no, not at all.
Yeah. And but he got his chops later. He was Gigan a couple of times, and then they brought him back for 84 or 85, and
oh yeah,
and that's what we did our panel at G-Fest over. And
yes.
And what was cool is he wasn't even the suit actor they brought in. They built the suit for someone else. He couldn't do it, and then they brought in Satsuma, and he got the job and kept it for a long time.
Oh yeah, well he did such a great job, so.
Yeah, he's a legendary suit actor in a lot of ways, right up there with Nakajima, and knew what to do with it, knew his limitations, and he was also just physically strong enough to be able to sustain himself in that 200-pound suit, 200 plus pound, just insane.
Oof, yeah.
Yeah. And thinking about all the work. But let's talk about that Godzilla suit, our 68 suit that's been used quite a number of years. What did you notice about it?
One of the first things I think everyone knows what we're about to say, is that the wear and tear on that suit, like there's a shot where Godzilla's doing like his not a victory roar, but he's like it's like his bring it on roar, mm-hmm. And his arms are like kind of across and kind of like in a T pose a little bit, and you see part of the material of the suit just like flaking off. And it's just I noticed that as a kid. I'm like, wow, what's happening with Godzilla there? What's happening with his arm? But you realize that that suit's been used since Destroy All Monsters, which was 68. So it's like 68, 71, and this one. No, wait.
Well, yeah, 4 movies. This was in 4 movies. Destroy All Monsters, Revenge, Smog Monster.
Revenge, that's what I forget. You know what I think that was? I think that was my brain just trying to not remember Revenge. I think that's what it was.
Yeah, that's what it was, yeah. And honestly, it's not in Revenge a whole lot, but enough,
It's just for the final, I think it was used for the new footage of the final battle with Gabra.
Yeah, that, and there was the training that he was doing with Minya. Not much at all, you're right. But 4 films is a lot for a suit. They usually didn't, use the suits that much. There's, of course, the water suit that you see, which is different and gets used throughout the series, but only, again, because it was built for water, and that goes back to Sea Monster, Son of Godzilla, all that, when you get to see him that way, and that's why, his face looks a little different. But this is one of my favorite. Oh, yeah. This is one of my favorite suits. I was really glad to get this little guy, the 68 figure, because I just have always liked this suit, the design of that. A lot of guys go back to the Mothra, Godzilla vs. Mothra suit, but I like this one actually quite a bit.
Yeah, I think when you think of Godzilla's Showa, I think one of the first suits that is part of the poster boy of the Showa series is this suit. I feel like that's a lot of people when they think of Showa, the first thing that comes in their mind is this one.
Yeah, absolutely. And, they modified it a couple of times throughout those films, but, it retired at the same time as Nakajima retiring and, passing the torch on to, another suit actor. Not that Satsuma played him in the next couple of films until '85, but, he did get his chance to be in some suits to be the villain. But, yeah, I always have liked this suit. I've always liked its design and, some simplicity, starting out and destroy all monsters, giving Godzilla a kind of new look and more child-friendly. He's less menacing looking in his eyes,
Yeah.
Yeah, not like the 54 or the Gigantus suit or anything like that, or even the the Mothra, Godzilla vs. Mothra suit, where he's got those eyebrows that are kind of looking down at you. This is kind of like he's a friendly frog.
Oh, yeah.
He's a frog, Anything?
That one, the 64 suit's definitely ferocious looking.
Yeah. Now, anything more you have to say about either this film, the suit actors, the story, anything else that kind of comes to mind?
I think we've covered a lot. I think one more thing that I think towards the end of the movie that I really liked was the music, the ending credits theme. That I don't remember what it's called, but I have the on my computer because I have the 50th memorial box set. But I love that track. It's so, if you guys know what I'm talking about, but it's a really cool track at the end when they're swimming away, and I just love it.
Yeah, I think
it's like weird rock music or whatever. I don't really know what to call it, but
yeah, I think it might be called the Godzilla March. I could be wrong. But yeah, it's got the Japanese lyrics to it.
Yes, yep.
Mm-hmm. Which are very cool to hear. And so, yeah, that's one thing that definitely at the end, and, since Smog Monster, we're seeing, more vocal music coming in. We had, the Save the Earth from Smog Monster, the March from this film. Mechagodzilla had the lady singing, on the island to King Caesar. There's another I'm missing. The Jet Jaguar song, of course. So
of course,
we're getting more vocal music, in these tracks, and of course, because we've got other sometimes musical composers coming in there. The director of this Godzilla film. Not Ishiro Honda, but Jun Fukuda, who, also directed some of the Island series of Godzilla films, like Sea Monster, Son of Godzilla. Trying to think what else he directed. After this, he did direct Megalon and Mechagodzilla, and he has a particular style that he goes with.
He does, yeah.
Yeah, and it differs from Honda's kind of. Way of directing. But as far as the Godzilla directors, is there, the Showa series, or let's just say any of the series, is there any particular director that you kind of prefer when it comes to the Godzilla series?
Oh. That's really interesting. I think let's see, probably cliche is GMK.
Mm-hmm.
He was fantastic. What else? Well, I got to go with 84. Wait,
yeah.
Who did 84?
Koji Hashimoto. Yeah, only Godzilla.
Okay, yeah. And also just to get some people probably in the comments going, oh, did he really just do that? I say Final Wars. I think the director of Final Wars, he had such a fun time with it. So
I don't know if they could disagree. He had fun. He surely had fun.
Yeah.
Yeah, whether you like that or not is really one of those hot topic buttons, which I try to stay out of when it comes to it, because if you're like me, you love all these films, you own them on multiple copies, Blu-ray, DVD, and you just can't get enough of it. Maybe some of these films are still on your least favorite, but you still own them.
I know what was another really good director.
Mm-hmm.
like probably one of the best directors ever was Emmerich, right? Roland Emmerich. I mean, he did it.
You're killing me, Goji.
Now you're gonna get in the comments. It's just gonna start. It's gonna start. Like, oh no, did he just say that?
He just went there, guys. Roland Emmerich.
I love saying that stuff.
He is trying to stir this pot, and yeah. I don't know about that one, but you know, I'll say this. I have never directed a Godzilla film, so I don't know how hard it is. So maybe all of these guys have really something to say, because again, we're not film directors. We do our own little thing here, but to really take on a project like this and make it, you know, plausible, make it sell any tickets at all, to make it something memorable is kind of a task, and a grueling one.
It is.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I will say, having the experience of making Return of Space Godzilla, and that being at the level of just a mediocre fan film, the work that still is put into it, and to just imagine what it's like to actually make a blockbuster movie, to be a director of the caliber of the Godzilla movies, that is probably, it's crazy. I couldn't imagine the hard work that it takes. So even for Godzilla vs. Gigan, the director, I still give my hats off to him, because, even if it's not one of my favorite films, it still was probably a lot of work to put together. So yeah, definitely. And also working now in the third film, it's like, because we want to put more effort into it. So now I understand with some directors how, when they go into a project, especially if they're, taking the reins from the last director, especially if it's a Shiro Honda, trying to follow in his footsteps, they're like, okay, well, oh boy, what am I going to do?
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, exactly. You're up against quite a fan base there in Japan and in the United States and worldwide, actually. And to be able to, say, and what was in his favor, at least in this film, is he's got the music of Akira Ifukube. He's got the original suit actor, Haruo Nakajima. So he's got, at least the right people around him, and he's
talent, yeah.
Yeah, and he's coming off of the, I won't say failure, but let's just say it, failure of Godzilla vs. the Smog Monster. And, so he had some things working in his favor. I will say this, the last thing that I have to say that kind of comes to mind is that this has always kind of had that special place in my heart because of the video store, again, because it was there. I hadn't any clue of how many Godzilla films there were, so the fact that there were two on the shelf there in my little town here in Indiana to pick from, I watched the heck out of this one, so of course it kind of has always got that nostalgia factor working in its favor for me, but growing up, looking at it with more critical eye, it's one that I don't watch maybe as often, but still one that has that special place in my heart when I think of being a kid, and now being able to see it on Blu-ray, in all its glory, is really fantastic.
Yeah, the Blu-ray was really good. That was one of the things that Blu-ray is probably one of the best qualities I've seen of the released Godzilla films on Blu-ray, because when I first popped that in, and it was Godzilla vs. Gigan, the one that I first popped in with that, and I was blown away with the quality. I was like, wow, that's great.
Yeah, like almost a new film, being able to see it in telescope and in high definition remastering or transfer of the original film, because if you were like me, you saw the VHS copy, which was okay, but you're not seeing on the edges there of the widescreen, and and it is what it is. It's VHS, but being able to see it the way they saw it in theaters in 1970s, 1972 particularly, is definitely something to be said.
It is. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. I think we are actually out of time at this point, and so what I'm going to do is I'm going to let you sign off first, and then I'm going to do my sign off. I know you've got a trademark slogan, so let you go with that.
All right. Well, thank you guys so much for watching. Nick, it was great to be on your show again, and as always, stay big, G fans.
All right, and this has been Nick Adam Poling with the Monster Report, thanking Gojifan1993, Mr. Chris Cuypers, for very much for having this discussion, and we hope you guys comment, like, subscribe to both our channels. Check out what's going on Chris's channel, a lot of great things, and check out what's going on this channel as well. Follow us on Facebook and everything else that's out there, and we will catch you next time.